Welcome, Lund loyalists, to John Lund Unleashed. Those watching on YouTube, on the John Lund Unleashed and Bay Area Sports Collective channels. Viewers on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and Lundos listening to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. John Lund Unleashed, brought to you by Reapel Sports Medicine. Got pain? Check out our revolutionary stem cell treatments. And guys, if low T is bringing you down, Reapel Sports Medicine can put you back in the game. Now all juiced up and ready to go, here's John.
All right, there it is. It is past 5 o'clock. I apologize. Schedule prediction time. The schedule is out. So we're going to play the win-loss game. You tell me where I'm wrong, right, indifferent. Thank you so much for joining us twice today. Plus, we'll have a Warriors post-game show later on. But thank you for joining us. Without further ado, maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. Let's get it going. Let's get it up there. The schedule, there it is. Let me make this a little bit easier on you. There you go. Sent this out right at 5 o'clock. Thank you for joining us on John Lund Unleashed, the Bay Area Sports Collective. Maybe you're watching on X at John Lund Radio. Maybe you're checking us out on Instagram. I decided to throw this on Instagram today as well. So we are live on Instagram, all those different places you can watch. Please make sure that you are subscribed. You have those alerts on so you know when we're going to go live for schedule releases, because the NFL is incredible. They never miss anything. They leak a little bit out. And here's a Thursday night, and there's a Sunday night schedule, and here's this, and here's that, and here's this, and here's that. And all of a sudden, we're wrapped up in it, and things that shouldn't mean anything, like a schedule release, are a big deal, so that we can play the win-loss game. So we'll do that in just a second, but there is the 2025 schedule right in front of your eyes, leading off at Seattle in week 1. And they do this a lot. They will play those first couple on the road. So at Seattle, at Nowlands. Remember, we'll do a little breakdown on each of those. So Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the Seahawks. Pretty good offseason for Seattle. Got guys like DeMarcus Lawrence, had a really nice draft, according to a lot of people. No more Geno Smith, no more DK Metcalf, no more Tyler Lockett. It's Smith and Jigba with that group. They've improved their offensive line. Their first-round pick was Gray Zabel from the university that shall not be named, North Dakota State, or Trey Lance's alma mater, so we don't discuss that. New Orleans just had Derek Carr retire in week number 2, so that should be a good time to get the Saints, because even if their quarterback situation could get situated, maybe it's going to be later on in the season, not early in the season. Week 3, you get the Cardinals at home. I like the Cardinals, but they're still, if I look at the division right now, I would, because of the lost play schedule for the 49ers, Seattle, the 49ers, the Rams in some sort of an order. I still put the Cardinals last. You can ridicule me for that, but we'll get into the win-loss in just a second. The Jags are the Jags. Nothing has changed, in my opinion. Trevor Lawrence doesn't do a whole lot for me. They got a brand new coaching staff for feeling like the millionth time. And Liam Cohn, who was the offensive coordinator of the Bucs, who said he was staying, but then he left and went to the Jaguars in the middle of the night. He said it was at home, and he was actually interviewing for the job. The Jags are going to jag. So there's that. Huge game in week 5 at Rams, Thursday night football. That really good defense. Lots of young, good players on that team. Matthew Stafford re-signs. So there's no doubt they are probably the class of the division, and that is Thursday night football at L.A., which is still, no matter how the 49ers are playing, will be a Levi's South game. At the Buccaneers, that's a tough one because the Bucs are underrated in the NFC. With Baker Mayfield and the boys, defense is playing better. They've got some offensive weapons. By the way, they drafted another receiver, Ibuka, out of Ohio State in the first round. So they're going to be set offensively, pretty good defensively. That is a damn long trip. But I remember in 2019, that was the first trip of the year. Remember that? Richard Sherman had the pick 6. In fact, they had 2 pick 6s that game. Nick Bosa was a rookie, got his first sack. But Tampa, that's a long, long trip for the 49ers. Falcons, then you come back home for a Sunday nighter against the Falcons. Remember, they drafted 2 guys in the first round that can get after the quarterback, gave up their first rounder. Michael Penix is going to be their starting quarterback. The Falcons, no more Kirk Cousins. At the Texans, I think our good friend DeMeco Ryans is the head coach of the Texans. They didn't quite live up to expectations, but that's still a really good football team with a really good defense. The Giants, I think, going to stink by that point in week 9. Russell Wilson's the starter. Is he still going to be the starter, or is that going to be Jackson Dart, the rookie out of Mississippi? I would put my money on Jackson Dart at Ole Miss at that point, and Russell will be watching from the sidelines. Rams once again in week 10, but you get them at home at the Cardinals. That's never a fun place to play for the 49ers. Panthers still will stink this year. They did get McMillan, the big receiver, out of Arizona to try to help out Bryce Young. The Browns, I don't know, 2 years ago, they had a really good defense and stopped the 49ers. This year, what are they going to be doing at quarterback? Is that going to be Dylan Gabriel? Is that going to be Shedeur Sanders at that point of the season in week 13? Really late in the season against or after the Browns, before the Titans. We'll see Cam Ward, the first-round pick. You'd rather probably see him earlier on in the season. I'm not a huge Cam Ward guy, but by the end of the season, maybe he's playing less like a rookie. You should still beat the Titans, the team who had the number 1 overall pick. Colts are going to Colt. Is that going to be Richardson at that point of the season? Who's going to be the quarterback for the Colts late in the season in that one? Bears supposedly greatly improved. I will give them a ton of credit for what they did in the offseason. They did what I think the 49ers should have done. They just went out and got 3 really good interior offensive linemen, including Drew Dahlman, who I really wanted for the 49ers, Jonah Jackson, and then they're fortified on the offensive line to try to protect Caleb Williams, and they do have a lot of good offensive players on that team as well. So the Bears, who a lot of people think are going to be good, that's a Sunday Night Football. And then weird this season, I don't know if I've ever seen this, where you're seeing Seattle at Seattle in week number 1, and then it's going to be so different, whether it be injuries or guys evolving or whatever the case may be. But you'll see the Seahawks in week 1 and week 18, and maybe that's going to be something for the end of the season. So there's the schedule. You know this. It's the easiest schedule in the league, which is why when I throw out my predictions for this thing in just a moment, that the number is probably going to be more inflated than what everybody thinks. I looked at Vegas's number this morning, and they had the 49ers on over-under at 8 on wins. I would go over that just because the schedule is so easy. If you look at that whole thing, the only team that made the playoffs last year that will visit Levi's Stadium this year would be the Rams in week 10. That is the only team that's a playoff team at home. And then look at the rest of them. Even if you're looking on the road, at the Rams, that's a playoff team. At the Bucks, that's a playoff team. Texans, that's a playoff team. So you're still you're looking at 3 road teams that are playoff teams last year and 1 at home that are playoff teams. I feel bad for you if you have season tickets. In one sense, you'll probably watch a lot of wins this year. In another sense, you're not going to be able to sell those things like I've done in the past so that you can get your playoff tickets free. But I don't know, you'd probably rather see them win games. And then as far as national games are concerned, you can see right there, as I've kind of marked it there, Thursday Night Football, the first one against the Rams, week 5. It's quite unusual for the 49ers. Not a lot of faith is shown by the national broadcast. But again, Seahawks, Saints, Cardinals, Jags, those first 4 aren't very good. Bucks would be one. Falcons, interesting. That's a Sunday nighter. Monday nighter, they make 2 appearances on Monday Night Football. The Panthers, oh my God, really? Niners, Panthers on Monday Night Football for week 12? Must have been desperate. Colts for Monday Night Football, don't love that. I do remember sitting in the rain as the Colts beat the 49ers. That was a national game. Maybe that was a Sunday nighter. Terrible weather. So they get the Colts on a Monday nighter. Sunday nighter against the Bears should be entertaining if the Bears are what they're supposed to be, especially, like I said, fortifying that offensive line. And then, as I said, the Seahawks. And that is not a national game. Neither of the Seahawks games are national games. That's a little bit surprising for me. But there you go. So that is the schedule. You can check that out at John Lund Radio. Tweeted that out at about 5 o'clock. So, again, the national games looks like a really easy schedule. Again, Rams, the only team that comes in that's a playoff team from last year, and then on the road. Of course, the Rams, the Bucks in week 5 and 6. I guess that would be your tough stretch of the season because then you go Falcons, who should be improved, and then Texans. That's probably your rough stretch, quote unquote, your rough stretch. Week 5 at Rams, week 6 at Bucks, Falcons at home, and at Texans. That's definitely your toughest stretch of the season. Like I said, Seahawks, you get them first and last. Cardinals, you get them week 3 and week 11. Rams, you're done with the Rams by week 10. That's kind of an interesting one. Week 5 and week 10 for the Rams. So there you go. That is the schedule. So first of all, give me your thoughts on what you see there from the 49ers. Like I said, the toughest stretch, and I'm putting that in quotation marks, air quotation marks, because it's just not a very tough stretch because it's not a very tough schedule. Week 5 at Rams, week 6 at Bucks, Falcons back home, and at Texans. That's really their toughest stretch of the season. Other than that, where else would I say? I mean, the beginning is always tough at Seattle, at the Saints to get you off on the right start. And then the Cardinals week 3, because that's a team that's in your division. Week 4, Jags, you should blow them out. And then things get, about as tough as they get. So we can complain and sit there and say, well, during this, they didn't have a great offseason, and I get that. I'm going to take that off the screen for just a second. All right, they didn't have a great offseason. I get it. But reality is the schedule is so easy that they're probably going to win double-digit games. I haven't looked, and I'll talk about it tomorrow on the show, tomorrow morning on John Lund Unleashed here on YouTube. I'll look at the numbers in terms of the betting odds and where they're favored and where they're not, because we've talked about this on schedule release day. Well, the Niners are favored in every single game, or the Niners are favored in X amount of games. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year. In fact, let me pop this up one more time, and I'll do a little bit of predicting here of what games they'll be favored in. So at Seattle, they will not be favored in that game. At the Saints, they'll be favored in that game. Cardinals at home, probably a slight favorite there. Jags at home, I'd say that 3-point favorite there to 5. Maybe at the Rams, they won't be a favorite. That's 2. At the Bucks, they won't be a favorite. That's 3. At the Texans, week 8, they won't be favored, at least initially. We'll see how the season goes. That's 4 games they wouldn't be favored in. Rams at home, initially, they probably won't be favored. That's 5. At the Cardinals, week 11, they wouldn't be favored. Probably that's 6. The rest of the way, probably favored. Like I said, I'm just saying initially with the initial. So maybe 6 of them, they wouldn't be favored. But, 11 they would be. I mean, that's how easy the schedule is, despite the fact that they didn't have a really good offseason. And I'm being very, 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 very kind. As far as the chalkboard is concerned, schedule release, 5 primetime games, NFL's easiest schedule, 1 playoff team at home, the Rams, bad offseason / easy schedule. That's what happens when you get the last place schedule. We're not used to that around here. We're like, whoa, what is this? Yeah, last place schedule, you get the easiest, and they've got the teams with the least winning percentage, the lowest, I should say, winning percentage. We're going to do record in a minute. Like I said, I just went through key stretches. Normally you can go through 2 or 3 of them. There's just not a lot of tough stretches. Going further away is tough at Seattle than at the Saints. They should beat the Saints just because it's early in the season and they have a 3-headed quarterback, and I don't think any of them are any good. So you get them early in the season, what I think is better before any of them get seasoned and feel good about themselves. Like I said, at Rams, at Bucks, Falcons at home, at Texans, that's about as tough as the stretch gets. They don't have a lot of games in which they go for long road trips. I mean, again, the first 2 road trips, 5 and 6 back-to-back road trips, 8 and 9 back-to-back road trips. But when you go to the Texans, you go to the Giants. The Giants stink. And they're going to be working in either Russell Wilson, who at this point of his career is not the guy obviously we saw in Seattle, or Jackson Dart. So you get an advantage there. The Browns are going to have a screwed up quarterback situation and probably not resolve that all year. That's week 13. That's another thing I look at, quarterbacks. Sam Darnold week 1. Who knows? Saints week 2. Kyler is a pain in the ass in week 3. Jags, I'm not a Trevor Lawrence guy. Okay, Stafford, no doubt. Baker's good, not great. I don't know what to make of Penix yet. Hasn't played enough. Texans, they got a great young quarterback. Giants, they're going to have a screwed up situation at quarterback. Stafford, we know. Murray, we know. Bryce Young hasn't proven anything. Brown screwed up. Titans have a rookie, even though he's the first overall pick. We'll see. Colts, I'm not sure what they're going to do at the position. They have Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. The Bears have Caleb Williams, tons of potential, hasn't done it yet, and Sam Darnold again. So any way you want to slice the pie here for the 49ers, not only the easier games, but I always like to look at the quarterbacks who they're going to face. Stafford's really good. There's no doubt. Kyler Murray can be a pain the way he does things. Not a lot of great quarterbacks. I respect Baker, but he's not a top 10 quarterback in this league, not to me. And then they got some guys like, I don't know what Penix is going to be. Russell Wilson's not very good. What's Jackson Dart going to be? What are the Browns going to do at quarterback? What is Cam Ward going to be at that point of the season in week 15? So the Colts have a weird quarterback situation. I like Caleb Williams, but he wasn't, what was he probably last year? The 25th rated quarterback in the league. So there's a lot of what ifs. There's a couple of decent ones. Stafford is the best quarterback that they're going to face all year. So any way you slice it, the 49ers have a really advantageous schedule, because lots of times you look at that schedule and you're like, wow, this guy, like one after the other. It's a bunch of killers in there. And that's just not the case. A bunch of young quarterbacks, unproven quarterbacks. Stafford twice is the best quarterback that they're going to face. So again, any way you slice it, I think the 49ers have a massive advantage. So you can sit there and say, hey, they didn't have a good offseason. Lots of young guys are going to have to step up. What about the defense? I get it. But if they have relative health, right? Last year it was just football gods just went and just nailed them in every way, shape, and form they can. That's what they did. So schedule looks good. I will unveil the way I feel about it in just a second, but let me get out to people and see what you think, and then I will unveil the predictions, which are always 100% right. I want to say good afternoon to everybody, and do remember I'm going to be back after the Warriors game tonight, and we're either going to lament the season and say what can they do from here, or they pull off a miracle tonight. Steph possibly plays in Game 6, and they might have a pulse. So we'll do that tonight after there. Did I mess up something? The Indy game? Yeah, that's cool. Shedeur Sanders will be starting by week 1 for Cleveland, so their beat writers team, though, it's just, they said it's 100% clear Sanders by far the best quarterback. I mean, we'll see. I mean, they're just barely starting this thing. I'm not a Dylan Gabriel guy. They don't have a whole lot in that quarterback room to me, and it does not scare me. Does not scare me in what any way, shape, or form that Shedeur Sanders is going to play. I mean, look, I think he's better than, a 5th-round pick when he was taken, but he's not great. October, the toughest part of the schedule. I don't think there's any question about that. In fact, let me just pop it up there again because I'm losing it if I don't do that. Easy. Let's see. Did October. Yeah. But again, tough is a relative term. I mean, this is the easiest schedule in the league, and it should be. And if they don't play well, if they go, let's say 6-11 with this schedule, and I'm not a fire Kyle Shanahan kind of a guy, I'm not a fire John Lynch kind of a guy, but if they go 6-11 like they did with this schedule, now look, they had a lot of injuries, they had holdouts, they had these kind of things. I get it. But 6-11 with this schedule, sorry, I just can't see it. Like and subscribe, please, to both channels, of course, to John Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective. Hi, Kid Icarus. It is great to see you. Let's see here. Hurley Bird, good to see you, man. I'm glad that everybody is here for the schedule release party that we're having. In fact, I should have a beverage. I don't know, man. Seattle, I thought had a pretty good. I think had a pretty good schedule. I really like the safety they took out of South Carolina. I think he's going to be their best player. I don't know about Gray Zabel, whatever. I don't believe in anybody out of North Dakota State, but that safety they got out of South Carolina, he's money. I would have liked the 49ers to get him because he's one of those guys where he can play that nickel linebacker spot. He can move all over. I'm not ready to call him Cam Chancellor like everybody up in Seattle is, but I think he's a nice player. I think that where they got him, and they traded up to get him. So, hi, Ernesto Ron. Haven't seen you in a while. Great to see you. Again, give me your thoughts on the schedule. Not a lot of tough parts. Like I said, the toughest part is at Rams, at Bucks, Falcons, at Texans, and then you get a break with the Giants. So, and you have to go across the country. It's still never easy, but the Giants should stink. And by that point, I think Jackson Dart's starting and probably throwing you a few interceptions. So that's what we got. All right, it is time. Are you ready to unveil it? It is time to unveil, and we're going to play the win-loss game here. I will give you an explanation for every win, for every loss, and we'll get some thoughts on this, and I'd love to hear what you think. Give me, when I pop this up here, I got it all at once. Give me your predictions, right? That's all I ask for coming in today, and I appreciate you guys all coming in, and ladies and gentlemen coming into the show today on John Lund Unleashed here on YouTube and the schedule release party. I'm going to throw my predictions out there. You can laugh. We'll screenshot this kind of stuff. Last year, I think I probably had him winning 11 or 12 games. Lots of injuries as my excuse, not an explanation. That is certainly an excuse. But the schedule is very easy. I will explain each game as it goes. And I am assuming one thing. Ask you me, I understand that. But I am assuming one thing, which is that the 49ers have relative health. It's the NFL. You're not going to get you're not going to be very, 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 very healthy. You're going to have injuries. It just depends on who and how many and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm assuming Brock stays healthy. McCaffrey's healthy this year. I don't know when Ayuk's coming back, so that's not really a huge factor to me. They have enough to score offensively. The whole story, and you know this about the 49ers, it's going to be about defense. Can those two defensive linemen, C.J. West and Alfred Collins, do anything? Can Nick Martin, hold things up if D. Winters can't? I'm concerned about the secondary all around. I like Lenore. I don't mind Renardo Green. The safeties make me nervous as hell. I've told you this before, I'm not a Jair or Brown guy, and Mustafa hurt, and I love Saleh. But I've never met a coach that had horrendous talent and was just awesome about it. So I think Saleh's going to make a difference, but remember, it was the guy that presided over a defense in 17 and 18 that wasn't an incredible defense. And then in 19, everything came together. So look, Saleh's great, but he can't shine shit. So he's got to have talent. That's just what it comes down to. So there you go. I've played the win-loss game. The L's are in red. The W's are in green. We'll start with the preseason to be determined against the AFC West. So that would be the Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers. Don't care. Let's start with September 7th in Seattle. I am in the minority, and you will disagree with me on this. I think Seattle's going to be good. I think Seattle's going to be in the mix with the Rams, and because of the Niners, the easy schedule, you go to Seattle in week 1. I believe that Sam Darnold is not a great quarterback, but he's good enough. I think that Mike McDonald is not so much building a defense like he had in Baltimore, but I think that they've started to put some young players on that defense, and I think it's going to be a good defense. So I think in week 1, make fun of me if you must. I think that's an 0-1 start for the 49ers in Seattle, which has been a tough place. Then it wasn't a tough place. And again, they lost DK Metcalf. They lost Tyler Lockett. They lost a lot of guys, but I think the defense for Seattle is going to be good. And I'm in the minority on this. I think Darnold's going to be better than Geno Smith, who wasn't very good against the Niners in his Seahawks career. Week 2, you've got to go. So the first 2 weeks are on the road. You got to go to Nolans. As I said, I think early in the season, I think that playing at New Orleans with their uncertain quarterback situation, they may be starting a rookie. They may be starting Jake Haener. They may be starting Spencer Rattler. They're not starting Derek Carr. He has retired, so 1-1. Week 3 of the Cardinals, I don't like going to Glendale, Arizona, but them coming in here, I feel relatively good about. I think they had a nice draft too. I like Jonathan Gannon. They do play hard. They are a bit of a pain. As far as I know, they still have James Conner, right? So they're going to run the football. They picked up Walter Nolan in the draft, a guy that I really, really like, but it's early in the season. So is he going to be established yet? Probably not. So I'll take them over the Cardinals early in the season, 2-1. The Jags, do I really have to say anything about the Jaguars? I know that Liam Cohen is their new head coach. He came over from Tampa Bay. I'm not a Trevor Lawrence guy. When we always talk about the contract for Brock Purdy, I'll tell you this, he's getting more money than Trevor Lawrence is getting. So we'll start with that. Here, let me put myself in the picture here. Sorry. You want to see the schedule more than me. There you go. So you can, see my sweet, shiny face. So that's 3-1, and you're going, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo, we're rolling. Well, more the schedule than anything else. I think the Rams are the class of the division. I think defensively, we've got a lot of good young defenders. And then anytime you have Sean McVay, he's going to be good as far as the offense. So they'll score enough points. Matthew Stafford is back after they played a little game of cat and mouse over the offseason, but they're going to be fine. So that's going to be a loss right there. So now 3-2. I think it's too much to ask this team to go across the country and beat Tampa Bay. Now, is Tampa Bay world beaters? No. But over the last couple of years, they've gotten in the playoffs, won a game. I think Baker Mayfield, while he's not a great quarterback, is solid. And going across the country, Buccaneers have an underrated defense. I think they had a decent draft as well. So all of a sudden they were 3-1, and now they're 3-3. Maybe this is in my head of the offseason. But then here comes the stretch, as I said. The Falcons, I know that they drafted 2 really nice defenders, and they've needed defense. They're kind of a wild card in the NFC South because I like Michael Penix. I really do. But, and I would have liked to have gotten Michael Penix maybe a little bit earlier on in the season. Drake May, the quarterback, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. They've got some offensive guys. Bijan Robinson. Remember the last time we saw them, it was Marcus Mariota as the quarterback. I think he hit like his first 13 passes, and they just ran the ball right down the 49ers' throat. So there's a very real possibility that on that Sunday night game that the Falcons could do that same thing, and Penix isn't even that big of a factor. So I gave him a win, though, in that game, so that's 4-3. Texans and DeMeco Ryans got a lot of respect for what they do, especially defensively. I really like what he's put together there. They're going to run the football. Joe Mixon is there. I like that team. You're going on the road, so now you're 4-4. Now I think you get rolling a little bit. I don't have any respect for Russell Wilson's game anymore. He's washed. At that point, by November 2nd, I think it's going to be Jackson Dart, so you get the win there. Rams, I don't think are going to sweep. That's going to be a tough one, but remember, they had a great opportunity last year to win that game. Debo drop. And I think that they'll split against the Rams. Cardinals going to Arizona is just tough. I mean, they just struggle in Arizona, so I'm going to say that's a loss. Carolina again is going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Bryce Young was a little bit better. They drafted McMillan, the big receiver out of Arizona. They still have a lot of problems defensively, and for that matter, offensively for Carolina. They get that win. This is the one that I probably threw up in the air the most. Why would I take Cleveland? I don't know. It's just one of those games. Just past Thanksgiving. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking that one. Cleveland's not going to be very good, I don't think. Is it going to be Shedeur Sanders? Is it going to be Dylan Gabriel? Is it going to be Kenny Pickett? Is it going to be Joe Flacco? I mean, who the hell is going to be their quarterback at that point? I don't know. Maybe it is going to be Shedeur Sanders. They probably get that win now that I'm thinking about it, but I already put an L there. Like, the Niners lose one that you scratch your head. I mean, they lost a bunch of them that you scratched your head last year. But I don't know. I'm just looking at this going, I don't know. It's just a weird game, and it's just one of those games that you're like, well, they're going to get in that game. And then they lose, and you go, what's that? What's that about? I like Mason Graham, their first-round pick. I think their defense is going to be better. I think their offense is going to be a mess. But I don't know. It just feels like one of those weird games to me, but who knows? The bye week, weird that it is so late in the season. That's way too late. Way too late of a bye. You want your bye like 7, 8, 9 in that range, or whenever you have a bunch of injuries. But okay, it is what it is. I'd like to see Cam Ward earlier in the season, the Tennessee first overall pick. I remember I say this all the time. Saw him at Washington State. Nobody said he was going to be the first overall pick there, but he is. So Cam Ward late in the season, I still don't think the Titans are very good. I'm not a huge Cam Ward guy, so I'm not afraid of Cam Ward. So I think they get the win. They're at home on that one. The Colts, they got to go on the road. I understand that. The Colts have a really weird quarterback situation. I'm not a Daniel Jones guy. He's there. Anthony Richardson, I'm not an Anthony Richardson guy. It's another one of those things where you just got to stay in school and start more games. He looks fairly clueless, even though he's a good runner and all that kind of stuff. He can throw it. He just doesn't know where it's going. He's like Nuke LaLoosh. So I think they're going to get that win. I know that the Bears are supposedly greatly improved. They did a nice job fixing the interior of their offensive line to help Caleb Williams. I know that they have a bunch of offensive weapons now. I think Roma Dunze is going to break out a little bit. They drafted a tight end. I mean, the Bears on paper look like they're going to be a really good team. They got a new coach in Ben Johnson who comes over from Detroit, so maybe their offense is going to be better. But until the Bears do it, and it's been so damn long since they did, that I just don't think that the Bears are going to be very good. So maybe that's where I switch the Cleveland one, but I think they're going to beat the Bears late in the season. Remember, Kyle Shanahan in December is great. So I give Kyle Shanahan a 3-1 December, and I could probably be talked out of losing to Seattle twice in one season. I just think Seattle's going to be good. I got a weird feeling. I'm sorry to tell you. I got a weird feeling that Seattle's going to be pretty good, and that's a home game at the end of the year. And it could be for a playoff appearance, to be honest with you. But there's Kyle. I got him going 3-1 in December, and Kyle is really good in December. So where do you got? Where am I wrong? Where am I right? Where do you like it? Where do you not? I have a weird, like I said, I think Seattle's going to be good, so I put them twice. Cleveland's that weird loss that they have every single year. I could be talked out of Seattle twice. I could be talked out of probably that Tampa Bay game going across the country. Atlanta does scare me on October 19th. I don't know how good Penix is going to be, but remember, they ran it right down their throat a couple of years ago, and that was an embarrassing loss. So there you go. That's what I got. 10-7. I don't think 10-7 is bad. I think 10-7, does it get in the playoffs? I mean, it's right on the brink there, right? 10 wins. But I mean, 10 wins sounds about right, given that the kind of offseason that they had, given that their defense is not going to be great, I don't think, under Saleh. Like, I think the best Saleh could do, I think is, I don't know, 10, 12 range, maybe middle of the pack. I think the offense is going to score points. I would have liked to have seen him obviously go after more offensive linemen, either it be in free agency or in the draft. But whether you like it or not, McKivitz and Trent on the edges are okay. I'm not a Brendel guy. That's who they're bringing back. Pooney, I think, is going to be better in year 2. They got to figure out at one of the guard spots. Hopefully, amongst the many that they have, they'll find a left guard. I never advocated paying Aaron Banks that kind of money, but if you just think about logic, at some point Ayuk's coming back. Christian McCaffrey says he's healthy. I'll take him at his word. They have enough offensive guys. George Kittle signs his contract. I'm not worried about Brock. So if they get their offensive skill guys back to the level that they're supposed to, they're going to score points. They can't be as bad on special teams, right? I like Brant Boyer, the way he talks, the way he looks. He looks like a special teams guy. I don't trust Jake Moody, and I hope they bring in some competition, and maybe there's a couple of guys that shake free, specifically along the offensive and defensive lines, maybe a veteran that they can get at that point. So what do you think of 10-7? I think Vegas has them like 8.5, something like that, 8.5. So, yeah, like you said, maybe Seattle's not a sweep. Boy, Pine Needle's going aggressive, man. 13-4. Very nice. 13-4. Darnold will crumble, always does. Yeah, I've never been a Darnold guy, but man, he had a great year last year, and I think that Seattle has fortified that offensive line. They're going to try to run the ball a ton anyway behind Kenneth Walker. I think that's going to be the big thing. They picked up a really nice tight end in Arroyo. The big thing with them is what are the receivers going to be like? No DK, no Lockett. Smith and Jigba, Cup they picked up in the offseason. Is he done or not? So we'll see. They're certainly not going to have the same kind of guys as that. By the way, everybody welcome and say hello to DC, becomes a member. Thank you very much, DC. Really, really appreciate you becoming a part of the Lund Loyalists. Thank you, DC. Much appreciated. There you go. 10-7. How you feeling 10-7? Just want to know how you're feeling about 10-7 for the 49ers. That's what I got. We'll put that up there. We'll screenshot that. You can laugh. We'll do that every single week. The win-loss game that I play every single year. My most squirrely picks are probably Bucks, Falcons, Browns for sure, and the sweep by Seattle. Yeah, those are definitely questionable. And like I said, I don't go crazy in terms of thinking too deeply on this whole thing. And again, we are assuming general health, not last year when they had the craziness. So what do you think? There's a 12-5 from Catalina. Very nice. I think 10-7, I would call it plausible. I think that's halfway between like optimistic and like the offseason they had. Because a lot of people are, I don't know what the national media is going to say. I bet they don't say 10-7. In fact, tomorrow I'll have it for you and what most people say. And also, my good friend Cynthia Freeland, she's the one who puts them through the machine. And then, like I said, I think Vegas is 8.5. I'll double check on that one. But I think that's what Vegas says on that one. Hello, Hurley Bird. Hello, John. Very nice to see you, my friend. All right, I got to run off to the airport and grab my son. He's coming back for like 2 weeks before he's heading off to Massachusetts to go to the Cape Cod League and work. One game at a time, no doubt. But, people expect let's see. People expect you to, you got to do this today. Can't do this in any other sport, by the way. Can't do this in basketball. When you take the 82-game schedule, you can see these are ones that might be, this is your tough stretches or something, but you can't do this. You can't do this over 82. You sure as hell can't do it over 162. So this is the only time you can do this, is when you have the 17-game schedule. So there you go. I know Hicks sucked today. I don't want to get into it. We'll do it tomorrow. Oh, is he terrible? Can he not be in the rotation anymore, please? How many times do I have to say this, Bob? I got a direct line to Bob, so I got to text Bob right now. No, I'm not going to text Bob right now. All right, there you go. 10-7. Yeah, he's going to be here for like 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So I got to run to the airport in Oakland and go get him. So give me your thoughts. 10-7. Hit me up on the comments right underneath. 10-7. Give me your predictions. Tell me your predictions for the 49ers. I've got 10-7. You can hit me up at John Lund Radio as well. That is it. That is your schedule release party. I should have had a beverage. I'm sorry. 10-7. Give me your thoughts on what you think the 49ers are going to do. Hit me up on the comments. Tell me how crazy I am, but give me your record as well. I say 10-7. What say you? Later on tonight, we'll come back for Warriors postgame right after what could be the final postgame of the year. Thanks for tuning in. John Lund Unleashed. Please make sure you subscribe, have those alerts on, and give us a thumbs up. We'll see you tonight after the Warriors game. 10-7. Hit me up with your comments right underneath.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!